Good evening and salam. I hope you can hear me. I'm Barbara Dresner. I'm a member of the MACFEST team, and I'm delighted to welcome you to MACFEST 2021. This evening, we are thrilled to host the creative paper cutting workshop for adults and for children. We're delighted to introduce you to our host for this event, Zamira Rahim. Let me share a few words about Zamira. Zamira is a British Muslim journalist who works for CNN. She is based in London and reports on politics, race, and identity. She has also written for Time magazine, The Economist, The Independent, and Vice, and is currently at work on her first novel. Before I hand over to Zamira, I would like you please to follow MACFEST on our media sites. That's Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So you will be notified of our coming events. Thank you. Enjoy the session, and over to you, Zamira.
Thank you, Barbara. Hello, everyone. Welcome to MACFEST. It's such a pleasure to be here with you all tonight. We've got quite a treat in store for you. We've got this workshop led by Mariam. Mariam, if you don't know, is a Russian-born and raised British artist. She works within the field of Islamic art. She creates kind of bespoke patterns, custom emblems. She works with a whole range of media, so everything from kind of paper and scissors to using, graphic computer design software. She's got quite the CV. Her work has been showcased in Dubai and Malaysia. She's been shortlisted a couple of times for Muslim News' Alhambra Award for Excellence in the Arts. And she also organises events like this, workshops for local community groups. So tonight, she's going to take us through a creative paper cutting workshop, as Barbara said, and show us how to create some intricate patterns using scissors. So I hope you all have brought your scissors. If you have any questions, do pop them in the chat function and we'll have a look, and I'll throw them to Mariam. So Mariam, over to you.
Hello, salam alaikum, привет, as we say in Russian, to everyone who has gathered tonight, or whichever part of the world you're from. So I've been kindly invited to run this on Zoom virtually. Last year, I was privileged to run a real-life workshop, which was a great pleasure. We had real people. But now this has given us even a better opportunity, because now we can meet in bigger groups, even though it's virtually, but still it's like connecting more people. And I'm going to connect with you through my art. And first of all, I'm going to show you my online presentation, PowerPoint. And I'll take you through the process of paper cutting. I'm not sure how much you know about paper cutting, and if you've tried it before. I don't know whether you have some experience in art at all. But I will take you through the history of paper cutting, and I will show you how the style of paper cutting takes in different countries, including Eastern Europe as well. And now we have this style of art spreading out through the whole world. Okay, so let me get to my presentation. So I hope it works, and as we go along, you may have some questions about a particular technique of paper cutting or some technical questions about how it's done. So you're welcome to write your questions that you may have in the chat, and we will try and pause throughout our session and try and answer them. Okay, so if you're interested to see what I do, you can go on my Instagram page and see my creative journey. Okay. Why is it not going through? Sorry, a technical hitch. So I know that some paper cutting artists, they use stencils, not stencils, they use knives. But I personally prefer using manicure scissors because it's very, I would say it's very convenient because you can do it literally anywhere. Because if you're using a sharp knife, you're kind of bound to your desk. Whether with these things, you can just do it on your knee if you wish to. You can explore the creative surfaces and work on it everywhere where you want to. So you're not bound to your working desk. And I remember I was taking train from Lancaster, where I'm based, going to London, and I had like good 4 hours on the train, and I took a cutout with me on the train. So which was a great thing to do. So these are the tools that I use, and I'll show you some more stuff tonight. So the art that I do can be very small, like miniature art. So this is the kind of logo design that I designed for myself. And I also, you can see the size of it, it's not bigger than 2 centimeters. And I also used manicure scissors to cut it out. And the art that I do also could be very large. So for example, this is a hand cut, a life-size Persian carpet cut out of special waterproof plastic paper and exhibited in several places, including Dubai and London. There was like a street art event in London, and which is shown in this photograph. So you can go big and you can go small. There is no limits to what you can do with paper cutting, really. It all depends on, you never limit your creativity. Yes, you can use any size, you can do miniature, you can do gigantic projects. Okay. So in these photographs, you can also see that I've developed my particular own style of using gilded paper. Because when I first started, I used just black and white paper. But over the years, I came up with the technique of gilding paper. And whatever you see in these photographs is also paper cutting, which looks like a metal leaf, but in fact it's just paper that was gilded and cut in shapes. I hardly ever use the laser cutting services, only when I need something in a massive quantities, then I can prepare a file and do something. All my artworks that you will see on my Instagram page is done only through the handwork, because I think when you do a hand cut design, you put your energy, you put your effort, you put your thoughts and even prayers, if you like, into your work. So it's a kind of some sort of meditation for me. So in terms of inspiration, I was hugely inspired by Islamic art, and I traveled to Turkey, to Morocco, and I explored different designs. For example, in Morocco, we had a 5 days workshop on Islamic patterns and geometry, which was hugely inspirational, which then I took with me and reflected in my work. So I can tell you one thing, that with paper cutting, you can take any theme or any subject that you like and turn it into paper cutting. So if you like flowers, you can be paper cutting flowers. If you like birds, you can be paper cutting birds. It doesn't really matter. It's just another medium. We have painters and artists that like do paintings or pencil drawings, and you can get artists that do the same images but for the paper cutting, for example. Okay, so I'm going to move to the next file. So as you may probably know, the paper cutting is very ancient art, it originates from China, and it came into being with the invention of paper. In China itself, it became a very auspicious and traditional form of art, which exists up till present days, and which spread into the whole world through the whole world traveled with the paper. So once the Chinese invented the paper, of course, the art of decorative paper cutting traveled with the expansion of paper through the Arab world, and then in the 15th century when it got to Europe. So we can see some standard traditional Chinese paper cutting decorations that are sold in China. And in China, this is UNESCO craft, UNESCO art form, which is of 1,500 years old. And in China, this form of art is used for auspicious events, such as it could be a wedding, it could be some sort of celebration, New Year, or a family, special day in the family, when the whole house is decorated with these auspicious pictures. Some of them, they have some some writings that show auspicious meanings. They are poetically called window flowers, because quite often they are placed into the windows to decorate the house and to bring this festive mode. Okay, let's move to the next one. So as you probably can guess, I'm not the only artist who is doing paper cutting. And if we look back through the history, we can see that very famous artists were also contributing, were also using this medium to contribute to the art form. So for example, such a prominent artist like Henri Matisse used quite huge scissors compared to the ones that I personally use. Yes, you can compare the size, to create his own collection of paper cuttings. And I think in 2015, there was an exhibition of Matisse paper cuts in Tate Modern in London, which I was very fortunate to visit. And I took some images, and I took a lot of inspiration from that exhibition. And I'm going to show you some. Yes, in 2014 that was. So of course you can go very intricate, or you could do larger forms. It's all up to you. Okay. So, and tonight, since we are concentrating on the heritage of Islamic art, I decided to take a theme of Iznik pottery, Turkish ceramics. So we're just going to look through different patterns and shapes of the flowers that are used in this particular type of art. And I'm going to demonstrate to you how you can interpret these patterns into paper cutting designs. That's going to be a plan. And maybe if you have any questions at this point, I don't know, Zamira, shall we take some questions now, or shall we wait till the end of the...
Yeah, whatever you prefer. We can take questions kind of as we go now, if it's a good point.
Yeah, okay, let's have a look. Yes, I know that paper cutting is also very popular in Poland. And some of the workshop participants were already showing us some Polish paper cuts, which are very bright, amazingly beautiful, and they are called Vitinanki. I know that that this form of art also traveled into Eastern Europe, and for example in Belarus and Poland and Ukraine, where I am currently based just for this couple of months. This art form is very, very popular. I just made it into I just reshaped it to fit my own style. I started paper cutting in 2015, somewhere around that time. I graduated from the art school, and I saw a movie on paper cutting artists, maybe when I was 11 or so, when I was still at the art school. And I really, really liked it. The reason I liked it, because it kind of took you into a different realm, or different domain, different reality. You can create your own space through this. And it's also very good for your concentration, for taking your mind away from your like daily issues or problems. Okay. So I think I don't see any practical. Oh, I see somebody's participating. Somebody who I met through Muslim Lifestyle Expo. I don't know, Shazia. Okay, Shazia, I must remember you. Hello to everybody. Okay, so let's go through the rest of the PowerPoint.
We are really enjoying it, Mariam. Gorgeous paintings you've got here, absolutely.
So these are the designs from Ottoman Turkey 15th century patterns that are called Iznik pottery style, which was widely spread and very popular during Ottoman Empire times. And we see a lot of blue, and we see a lot of beautifully shaped flowers, and they all have meaning, of course. So which I'm going to share and I'm going to share the meaning of these flowers with you a bit later. Okay, I'm just going to show a few examples. You see a lot of flowers, and I suggest that we work on the flowers tonight, because it's beautiful, it's good for your soul, and it's pretty. So mostly, of course, if we talk about Turkish ceramic and Turkish art forms, the most popular flower there is the tulip. Okay, and we're gonna go to the tulip and the meaning of the tulip in Turkish art in a minute. Then carnation as well, another popular one. So I'm just going to name like 3 most popular plants that are used in Turkish ceramic, and we will try and replicate those flowers and try to make them into the paper card. And this one is a peony, okay? So for example, peony is a flower that came from China, that came into Turkish art from China. Okay, and if we look at this list here, we see the flowers that are used in Turkish ceramic, and they all have meaning. So tulip is a symbol of God, because tulip in Turkish is lale, which almost sounds like Allah, yeah? So it also became a symbol of Ottoman Empire and provoked a tulip craze of the 17th century, when the tulips, they were a symbol of nobility and court life and sultan lifestyle, and privileged to be part of that empire. Then carnations mean happy and prosperous family life. They bring happiness and prosperity Peony stands for joy and happiness. And in Chinese Feng Shui, I would call it science, peony is considered as a sacred flower. Rose, of course, rose is a symbol of love, but also rose is a symbol of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. So if we travel to Turkey and if we see the beautiful, gorgeous tile work, we quite often see tulips and roses mixed together. So it's not just for the benefit of beauty, which of course is a great factor, but also it has this symbolism. So now you know this. And pomegranate means fertility, and wildflowers purity, and quite often we also see wine leaves. I didn't find any meaning that was specifically assigned to them, but I think they just hold the artistic composition, the artistic design together. They almost like frame it into a nice design, into a nice artwork. So these are 4 very simple designs that I've come up for this workshop, and I'm going to show you how they look in real life. I've just created them. So we will try and take some inspiration from those designs and create our own card. So I'll give you the measurements and the sizes, and I'll give the detailed instructions, and I will do the demonstration. So on the left, you can see the cards that I've created for this workshop as a demonstration. And because when I teach these workshops in real life, normally I give out some sort of stencils or like transparencies that people can use and apply onto their paper that they're going to use for their designs. But of course, it's not really possible at this moment. But I will show. I have prepared some designs that you can see on the right, the black and white. So what I can suggest, you can take inspiration from those and just copy and make your own interpretation of designs that I've created. Okay, and if you look on the right, you can also see that they are halved. So because we're going to use the folded paper and we're going to draw the design on just one side. But if you wish to, there is one design on the bottom right that is not folded, and you can do it just as one leaf. Yeah, so you can just do it as one design. Because in the art that I do, I quite like the idea of doing symmetrical design and folding paper, because you never know how it's going to look when you finish doing it. And I always anticipate that moment when you finished cutting the whole design and you open it up, and then you can see how it looks as a whole. For example, if you do a circle, a round design around almost like a medallion, and when you open it up, you can be surprised because you know, the design comes out in a very specific and unique way, and you never actually know as an artist how your artwork is going to look. But for us tonight, I've prepared very simple shapes and forms, and one on the top right, I've prepared 2 designs. One, I'm not sure if you see my cursor. I suppose that you do. So this one is for Peony, which matches this one on the bottom. And this one is Carnation, this one is Tulip, and this one is just, let us call like a wine leaf. Yeah. So shall we take some questions at this point, and then I'll show you some materials and designs that I use. Okay.
Mariam, one person is asking whether we could maybe like send out the templates that you have here on the right, in case, you know, drawing it myself doesn't work out quite so well.
Yes, of course. Of course. Do we do it now or later?
We'll probably do it later. I thought it was
yes, of course we can do this. Okay, so of course, oh, somebody traced the templates from the screen. Such an amazing idea. That's great. That's wonderful. I love this. We have very creative people tonight with us. So about contrasting papers, of course, it's best to use the colors that contrast to each other. For example, the blue and brown. I'm not sure if you can really see the brown and the blue. Or for example, when I work on gilded paper, I use black velvet background, and then I apply the gold design on the black velvet paper. What paint is used for ebro art, I do not know, because I do not do this ebro art. I'm sure they use a specific paint. Maybe you need to ask a different artist about this. Yes, so let me just show you. As you see, so the first step, I'm not sure if you have two contrasting colored pieces of paper on you or not, but what you could do, you can take, for example, if you have only a white paper, you can do your shape on the white paper, and then after we finish this workshop, you can find a piece of thicker paper, a cardboard, that contrasting to it, that you can apply it on. So that we can do it this way, or if you already have differently colored paper, you can do it during the workshop. So this is the idea. So we're just going to work on the shape for now. So the first step, so whichever design you're going to use, fold your paper twice. Yeah. Fold it, not twice, fold it in half, yeah? Then choose the pattern that you like. And then do half of it, so I'm just going to show it a bit closer. Do half of it on the folded, on one of the folded sides, yeah? Using your pencil. So you don't have to repeat the designs that I'm showing you here. You can go creative and you can make up your own shapes. You can use mine just as an inspiration, or you can just try and copy. It's up to you. Another thing that I need to mention here. So these shapes, they need to be cut out as one shape. Yeah, so this is the main thing, especially when you work on bigger pictures, like the ones I showed before. Let me just, if I can go back. Oops. So for example, this is the gold one, yeah, on the top left, is just one piece, connected piece, and you have to be careful and not to cut through the joints. For example, the joints that you see here, oops, sorry, they all have to be solid. Somebody told me that this looks like a doily. I'm not sure whether everybody who is watching us knows and familiar with the doilies, but it has to be like one solid piece. Of course, for such smaller scale artworks, it's not really a big factor, but if you, after this workshop, decide to go big and very creative with it, I recommend when you do your design, concentrate on putting everything together so it comes out as one piece, as one solid piece. But of course, like on the work, on this example on the right, that was one piece, but then I used gold paper and just shaped the birds out of it, copying the initial design that was done in the white paper first. So it's like it has several layers, but in its essence, it's just one piece. So this is the point to consider when you do paper cutting, because it must not fall apart when you lift it off your desk. Okay. I hope that you all have your paper halved, and one side of it, please start working on the design, okay? And on the right, you see a lot of different shapes inside this particular shape, yeah? Perhaps you don't have to do these shapes because we have to do just one big outside shape. Yeah, one big outside shape. So shall we give you a few minutes? How are we doing on time?
We've got about half an hour.
Yes. Maybe you could drop us a message in the chat. What would you like to do? Shall we give you some time while you are designing your pattern? What can you feedback to us where you are? Or shall I just go into cutting demonstration? So that would be nice to know.
I think maybe let's head into the cutting demonstration, and then if we get a whole chorus of folks saying, wait, give us 5 minutes, we can go back. But yeah, let's do a demo.
Yeah, okay. Demo. Okay. Right, okay. Please show only the outline so we can trace. Okay, sorry, Pamela. Maybe that was a bit of, I did not consider that I only need to do the outline, but basically when you do your shape, you need to do the outside line and the inside line. Okay, what I'm going to do, I'll just take a black marker and I demonstrate on this piece of paper that I have. And then I'll show you the demonstration, how we do it with scissors.
I'm very impressed with those of you who have already done your outlines. It's incredibly efficient.
Yeah. You will have to send us photographs. And of course, with modern art resources that we have nowadays, you can really go wild. Like I use Swarovski gemstones to insert between the cutouts. Then I use different materials, fabric, to insert layers. Like shiny glossy paper, you can play with different textures of the paper. You can be very, I would say, artistically wild with it, because some people some visitors of the exhibitions that I had in the past, they couldn't even tell that was paper. So nowadays, the art resources are so rich that you can just experiment. So this is the outline that we need. We don't need the inside lines. We only need the outside line and the inside line if you're doing the symmetrical design. So, and I'm going to show you the process of cutting out. It's very simple. So I use the curved scissors. So if you see, they're curved because this curve allows me to follow the line. But some of my students that have attended my workshops, they say that they prefer the straight scissors. So it doesn't really matter. As we saw previously, Henri Matisse in his huge, used the huge scissors and he was fine. But of course, for such finer and smaller artworks, I think we need smaller tools. That's my personal opinion. So what I do, we just follow the outside line with your scissors. So your scissors, in a way, they become your pencil or your pen. You carve out the design. So you get, first of all, you get rid of the outside shape. So when I do a big project, I first do the following. Sometimes I just do like this. I circle out the actual form to get rid of the paper that is not going to be used. Just imagine when the paper is gilded in real 24-karat gold leaf. Then I always save the borders and each bit that I get rid of, so it could be reused for some other artworks or some sort of like inserts for the main design. But it's nice to be a paper cutting artist because your floor is very creative. When you workshop, when you work, the floor is just filled with little pieces of paper. So you just follow the outside shape like this, using your scissors. Yes, and one important thing which I always tell the students who attend the workshop, try and rotate your actual work. So by rotating it, you're not twisting your arm, but you're actually making it easier to cut the shape out. So I'm not sure how well you can see.
Mariam, I think because you're sharing your screen, you're a little bit squashed to the side of most people's screens. So somebody suggested maybe like pausing the screen share just for the demo.
Yes, such a great idea. Sorry, I was focusing on too many things at the same time. Is it better now? Is the picture better? So we just yes, we just following the shape. And as I go along, I rotate my artwork. It doesn't really matter that much for such small piece, but for the piece, for example, like 50 centimeters by 50, by rotating it, you're making it really easier for you to cut it out. Otherwise, you kind of like have to go around it. So which is not really convenient. So you just keep turning it, rotating it. So this is the biggest trick of tonight that you've learned. Life hack. So, and you have to end up with something that looks like that. Yeah. So we finished the outside form. Yeah. And now it all depends on you, whether you want to do just a smaller design in the middle or you want to do more designs. I'll show you. Here is very simple. If it's just folded in halves, you can just carry on cutting this out in a very simple manner, following the lines. And I constantly change rotation and direction. Sorry, not rotation, direction when I rotate. So, and then you end up with a shape like that. So when it comes to small cutout shapes in the middle or in some other areas of your design, you have to be, for this one, we just do the middle one. We're cutting it out. But for example, if you need to So the fold helps us to get through, yeah, to get in the middle. But if you need to cut a shape inside the leaf, I just poke through the paper first, like this. Do a cut through first, and then go inside. That's how I do it. Some of my students, they thought that doing it on the desk is easier, but you have to watch your fingers, of course, because you don't want to poke yourself into you don't want to poke your own finger when you're cutting through the paper. So I just said, or you can just, if it's a very thin paper, you can pinch it and fold it in half, and then do like a small cut through it to get inside, and then carry on with the shape. That's life hack number 2. That was okay. So I'm not sure what stage we're at now, but I can show you how we work with the shape. What do we do with the shape after we finished it? Yes, shall we do it?
LK is asking, how do you minimize the crease once you've unfolded?
How you minimize? That's a good question. I really like these smart questions. This we're going to talk about the glue, because I don't personally, for the artworks that I use, I use spray glue mostly. So the spray glue M3 spray mount. This is the best spray glue that I've ever used, and I tried so many. I spoiled quite a few artworks. Yes, 3M, M3, yes, 3M, sorry. Thank you, yes, it's 3M. And the reason is, for example, if you're using very thin white paper, you need to be choosing the glue that doesn't leak through the paper, that doesn't leak through the surface. Otherwise, it will spoil the whole of your effort. So the glue, I don't have a spray glue at hand, and tonight I'm just using a glue stick. But of course, for making something very, I don't know, when you put a lot of effort, you just don't want to be using the glue stick, you know, it's just for a short workshop that will do. But for something that you want to put your attention and your effort in, I would recommend using 3M spray glue, and I'm using the purple one. It's I think it's a permanent spray mount, which I found very good because it's very fine. And it doesn't leak through the surface of your paper, because for heavier artworks, when I used thicker paper, I even used the carpet sprays, but they really killed some of my artworks because they left this very greasy yellow spots on the face of my artwork, which was horrendous, and then I had to repaint them. So I do not recommend doing this. So 3M is the best one. Okay, what we do next? We take a different colored paper, or if you don't have a different colored paper at hand tonight, just put it on just another piece of paper. And if you have a glue stick, we're going to apply it onto this onto your background. That's what are we doing now. So I'm using the glue stick tonight. My design is going to have this very thick black marker spots on the side. Normally it wouldn't be the case, but it's just for the demonstration. I'm going to use the darker blue and the lighter blue. So the shape glued onto the background looks like this, yes? So tonight I use the glue stick, but ideally, in the ideal life, if we want to create a very high quality artwork, we're using the spray glue. And in the workshops, in real life workshops, I use the spray glue. And we also, with the students, we learn the correct distance, because when you come too close, you create a bit like excessive glue, and with the spray glue it needs to have a very fine layer, which is very essential because you don't want your piece to be like wavy and bumpy. If you have an excess of glue, it doesn't look really good. So you can practice. And after, I'm not sure, can you tell us if you're up to this stage so far? So how far everybody's gone? It would be nice to know.
Getting some yeses.
Okay, excellent. Perfect. And of course, this is the most interesting point, because this is the part where you can get really creative. Since I've started using the, somebody's doing several flowers at the same time. Okay, so since I've started using the black marker, I'm going to use the black. But of course, you don't have to limit, we have unlimited resources nowadays. For example, for these pictures, for these examples that I created earlier, I used silver pen. So I'm just going to show you with the light catching so you could see the texture. So I used what's it called? Glitter glue. So I use the glitter glue because I love glitter, and I think it gives it really like another dimension when you use glitter. And I also like using silver pens, and also for finer designs, like this one is a silver pen, just like a silver, quite thin silver marker that leaves very nice, makes very nice fine lines, because you can fill your shape with different patterns and dots and squiggles and waves, etc. It's up to you. You don't have to, but because normally I just follow the outside shape and leave the rest of it unfilled, but I don't like overloading it because I think shape by itself is beautiful. But some of my students, especially those who are into henna art, they like leaving the design completely plain and blank, but doing one side in very fine squiggly flower patterns, like almost like henna-like designs. So which is very nice on your main pencil. Also, white marker also looks very good, or gold. It embellishes it, and it makes it. It takes it to a different level. It's not only paper cutting, but it also kind of makes it very decorative art. So you can also use the background and decorate the background. Okay, so I'm just going to show you. So I've used a bit of background and did these dots, if you see. Okay, so this is the tulip. So for those ones, I've used a different colored paper here for those small leaves. But the rest of this tulip is just one piece cut out, yeah? And then I filled in the middle of it with the glitter glue. And the peony, if you see it closer, you can see it's also sparkly. And for these 4 examples that I've made for you to demonstrate, I use the glitter glue and I use the silver pen. But also, it's also nice to, even marker pens are good. So now I'm going to use the black one, and I'll show you that it also could look nice even with the black, with color black. So normally I just go along the shape, like in here on my right, and then I could draw through the leaves and do the patterns and squiggles. But first I'm just going to outline the whole shape from inside and outside, and I'll show you. But it can be any color or a glitter pen. And at this point, you start using, maybe I should turn this back on. You start filling in the leaves. Yeah, these leaves that we omitted when we were doing just a generic shape. Now at this stage, you draw through those shapes and forms to kind of to make your flower clear. To bring more details. And this is my favorite part, to be honest, because you can turn it into another artwork. So I've come up with something like this. So just used the black marker, and I went around the shape and also did the inside shapes. And then I can take, for example, a silver pen and do some lighter designs like I've done here inside each leaf. So if you see here. And when I do the real life workshops, I also bring fairy dust. Fairy dust is a very fine silver spray that you spray over, and it gives this like a silver glow, which also, and it's absolutely loved by kids and some adults as well, me including. So if you do a gift, a card as a gift to someone, I think you can go really creative with the way you embellish and decorate your shape, because it can add another layer to it. So even just doing simple strokes inside each leaf gives it a very nice shape. Even some people, they don't know which designs to do inside the shape, and then I just advise to go along the outline. It's not very sophisticated method, but it adds it makes it look very beautiful. So I'm just going to use the silver pen, and I go along the outside shape several times inside the leaf, and I'll show you. So I'm not sure if you see those two strokes inside this leaf. Or for example, you can make a large shape, and then you can Google some henna designs, and you can look at the screen and decorate your shape with henna designs or some other designs that you may like. So for example, your shape may not be elaborate, but your design inside the shape may be quite elaborate. So it's up to you, because it's a nice idea of a contrast when your shape is quite simple, but the design is quite intricate. But of course, you can have an intricate design and an intricate decoration as well. So it's a creative process. Then I'm going to use my my glitter glue, which I really like. It takes some time to dry, but I do really like the glowy effect that it gives. So when I'm going to show you the demonstration of it. So it looks quite thick, but when it dries, the thickness evaporates, and you're left with a very fine, like silvery dust. And it's nice to put these as like an accent, for example, in the middle, not everywhere, but I suppose you can also do this. But with such a highlighter, I prefer just doing one, accentuating one particular shape, or like highlighting the center of the composition. And I will show you. In fact, so I think that, is it visible?
Yeah, it's great.
Why did I think about it before? I just simply love doing this, and then going into this circle. And doing simple dots as well also makes it look nice. Like if you do the dots around the shape. And then use the glitter on every dot. So decorating shape makes it almost like three-dimensional. Of course, the paper cutting is two-dimensional artwork, but when you decorate it with stones, with gemstones even, or with fabric, it takes it to another level. So, and for example, in the middle bit, you can just repeat the shape, the outside shape.
Mariam, Avril's asking in the chat if you're going to frame this piece, or if you frame many of your pieces.
This particular thing that I'm making, this particular piece, I could try, I suppose, or I could give it to my aunt as a birthday present because my aunt is having her birthday very, very soon in a few days. So I could kill two birds with one stone and take this and make it into a present. Yes, the artworks, they need to be framed if you want to hang it as a picture. The ones that I showed you, they all framed in a kind of like, I invest quite a lot into framing them because that brings them into another level. So can you see it? Yeah. And the pieces that you saw in my presentation, they all framed, and the sizes of those, they are maybe 90 by 90 centimeters. And I also had some framed pieces 1 meter and a half by 90 centimeters. And the frames were quite massive and huge, which made the artworks very, very heavy. But I think when you work so much on a particular piece and then you don't want you don't want the dust to get into it, so I always frame them. I use the glass. So like I take them to artwork framers workshop, and there is no special framing design for paper cuttings. However, the framers workshop that I go to, they came up with a they bought a specific glass, which is invisible glass, but it's quite expensive. But it the great thing about it, that it's so transparent that you can't tell that the glass is there. And for example, if you use expensive materials such as like black velvet and gilded paper and gemstones, etc., it brings it adds more to it, because when you don't see the glass, you can actually stand next to the piece and look into it properly. You don't lose a lot of glow, because normal glass takes a lot of glow of the artwork away, of course. But the big misfortune that this transparent glass, invisible glass, is quite expensive. So maybe in a few years it's going to be cheaper, and then I can use it for all of my artworks, I hope, because it would be nice to reframe all the pieces that I have, and use the transparent glass. Of course, it's a completely different story. So I don't know whether you have more questions about tonight's workshop. Technical questions, creative questions, any questions you're welcome to ask. Specific technique. Sometimes I can also say this, when I use several layers for the art, for example, for the artwork, for example, when I have fabric and several layers of gilded paper and maybe paper at the background, no glue will hold it together. And maybe a super glue would, but then you could ruin your artwork. But then I use little miniature nails, and I put the whole construction on 3M with the 3M glue together, but then I use miniature nails and stick them to the actual background. So the whole composition doesn't fall apart. That's another tip. For example, if you want to use several layers, or if you want to use a paper that is quite thick and you want to hang it, so yes, I would recommend not to rely on 3M spray glue if your artwork isn't light. So I would recommend using some extra supportive tools like miniature nails, for example. That helps. I'm not sure if I've done it all, if I've answered your questions. If you have more questions, please go ahead.
Well, the chat is very quiet at the moment, but I have a question, Mariam. You were talking about how you went to the Matisse exhibition, and you're incredibly inspired. And I was just wondering, are there any other artists that are kind of key inspirations for you with paper cutting?
With paper cutting, I wouldn't say so. No. I think I'm more inspired by what I see, and that could be reinterpreted into paper cutting. Like, for example, on my visit to Morocco, we looked at plaster carvings that they have in abundance there. The whole we were staying in Fez, and the whole city was just, the whole old town was just filled with carvings. So I used those designs to reinterpret them into the medium of paper cutting. So these things, they inspire me. Or when I went to St. Petersburg to Hermitage, I then used some of the ceiling designs to reinterpret them into paper cutting patterns. So you can really be creative and use anything that you like to inspire you and bring it. But my main inspiration is the designs and the patterns. I have a huge collection of books with various designs from various backgrounds, from various arts and cultures, and I'm also very inspired by Mughal time jewelry, which is a completely stunning work of art. And I think jewelry also could be a great inspiration for your paper cutting. Well, at least it was for me.
That's great. Avril's asking, how would you cut something like birds or animals? You won't really be able to fold the paper for those sorts of shapes, will you?
Right. You can... because I made an artwork once. Yes, of course, if you just want to make one bird, you will have to do it. Just cut it out of one piece. But if you want to do a couple of birds looking facing each other, that's also nice. I made one wedding gift once. It was like a tree with two doves sat on the top of the tree, which was very nice for the wedding because the tree came out symmetrical and the two doves on the top also came symmetrical. I think this artwork should be on my Instagram page somewhere. Scrolling down, you could find it. Yes, but yes, for such things, if I just need to depict one bird or one animal, I do not fold the paper. I just cut out it directly from one layer. Or you can be very clever and you can combine. For example, you can do the outside frame, the pattern, the frame symmetrically, and then do one shape which is not symmetrical in the middle, but then the whole artwork wouldn't be probably like done out of one piece of paper, but then would have to be joined out of two pieces, for example.
And naturally, what kind of fabrics do you use?
Okay, I just go to fabric shop and I find very thin, like satin fabric, because if you're using a very thick fabric, you will have this unwanted thickness added to your artwork. So I recommend all the materials and papers that I choose for the artwork. I recommend choosing them in a very very thin, so it does not add extra thickness to your overall design. A crow in some of the Chinese paper cuts. Yes, but I think Chinese paper cuts, they're not symmetrical anyway, and they're done with a stencil knife. They are done on the table with a stencil knife, and when you do a stencil knife, it's not necessary. They don't have to be symmetrical, and paper doesn't have to be folded. And some of the Chinese paper cuts, they also done out of rice paper, which is really nice. And if you make your paper cut out of rice paper, and then you can squash it between two glasses and frame it, for example, or even you can use a black paper and squash it between two pieces of glass and frame it. So, but then you will have to put it on the wall that is just has one solid color. Otherwise, you will lose this contrast. If you have a white wall or a beige wall or a light wall, it would look really nice. I've done this. This is another tip. So, because when you work with paper cuts, it's tricky how to frame them and to demonstrate them, because they're not just pictures, they are something else. Yes, they are you put a lot of work and time into this, and you want people to appreciate that this is not just a drawing, or it's just not a photograph, it's a paper cut. So you have to think of a proper way of framing it so it becomes obvious and adds value, the artistic value to your piece. Thank you. Do you go beyond folding a paper once? Can you do multiple folds? Oh, that's an interesting question. For example, you can try it, Hadra. Is it Hadra from Hadra? You can, I suppose, if you use the rice paper, a very thin rice paper, you can fold it several times, and then you could get very nice repetitive designs. I haven't done it, but I can imagine it would look very nice. Almost like tribal repetitive designs, and you can use your, for example, if you come from a specific ethnic background, you can use your own ethnic patterns and designs to create those repetitive patterns. And but you have to be mindful about about the thickness of the paper. So for my pieces that I use, that I do, I normally use printing paper, a paper of the thickness of the printing paper, not a thick paper. Otherwise, you will struggle to do the lines even, because the border of your cutout needs to be smooth, and if the paper is too thick, you will ruin the outside line, and the overall design wouldn't look very appealing. If I explained it properly, thank you. Any more ideas? Maybe you could send us some pictures of what you've done at some point. It would be nice to see.
I received one picture from one of our team members, Ala. She's done an amazing pattern, cut it and used a blue sheet with a green flower cutting. So it's really beautiful, and this is part of her working in the background. So well done.
Wow. Wow. Well, the gilding of the paper is probably another workshop that we will take, because it's a very long process, and I would need to give you the technical terms and technical so it's not, I can't explain it, it's just in a few minutes. It needs to be we need to have more time for this. But even like if you really like, you can, because there is in art shops, you can find some silver paper and gold paper, and you can buy this ready paper and try that as well. Or you can use, for example, differently shaded gold paper or silver paper combined with gold paper together. And also you could use the contrast, a glossy and the matte surface also works very nice. So for example, if your background is matte, like black matte cardboard, and the shiny glossy gold paper used for the shape, I think that also looks nice, or vice versa. And also, I just had an idea. If you use, if you like candies or chocolate bars, some of them, they have amazing wrapping paper that also silver or gold quite often. So you could use those as well. But this is for those who love chocolate.
So Mariam, we've got a little comment from the lady I was talking about, Allah. She said, "This is me, Allah. Thank you so much, Qaisra, for letting us know such a talented lady." So mashallah, you are very talented. I've seen your exhibition and you're one of the few in the world who's actually an expert in this, mashallah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your kind words and appreciation of the art. And thank you for coming and bringing your creativity and your talent here tonight to us and bringing this, making it a very joyous event.
Thank you, Maria. It's been such a pleasure. I feel like I've learned so much in the last 7 minutes. It's opened up a whole new world of art. And thank you everyone for joining. I'm going to throw over back to Qaisra now so that she can tell you a little bit about the events that we've got coming up and about our big event on Sunday.
Okay, thank you so much. But first, guess what? I've got one from Barbara. Mariam, you remember Barbara introduced you tonight? Well, she's actually made one, sent me a picture. I just wish I could show it to you. It's beautiful. She used white only and it looks amazing. So really very successful event for us indeed. Not just our other attendees from around the world, including from Canada, joining us, making things, but also you've got my own team busy. They've all been engaged with it while working for MACFEST. So thank you so much, Mariam. It's been a true pleasure hosting you again. And it's been brilliant. I loved it and learned so much from you. But of course, we appreciate the special talent you have in this very special area. And Zamira, thank you so much to you. You've been a terrific host. Loved hosting you. So inshallah, we hope to see you again next year as part of MACFEST. And finally, as Zamira has mentioned, I've been busy writing down in the chat about the events. Now, a special thank you to all our attendees, particularly those who have been following us for weeks and days. I really admire your tenacity. I hope it's really been worth it. We really appreciate you giving us our time, your time to us, especially at this in the evening when it's time for meals and children's time, etc. So guess what? We've come nearly to the end of 2 months of packed MACFEST events. And we have a real treat for you. This Sunday, we have the finale of MACFEST 2021 with an amazing, amazing event called Azerbaijan Festival. It's a proper festival live from Baku, Azerbaijan, you name it, they're offering it. We've got fashion, we've got cuisine, we've got monuments, we've got music, we've got horses, we've got carpets, we've got history. It's an amazing, I wish I could send you the trailer. We are posting the trailers on our Twitter pages, on our MACFEST pages. It is going to be phenomenal. Imagine 3 hours of phenomenal feast. And we've got people joining us from Washington. I don't know if you know this special famous Muslim man, Akbar Esamad. He's going to be one of our chief guests joining us from Washington. We have a chief guest, director of Birmingham Literature Festival, and also Mike Shaft, if you're from Manchester, the BBC Radio Manchester, he will be joining us as well as me and the rest of the team. So please, please book, tell people where it is, you can join us, it's all free. And of course, we welcome any donations anybody can make, even if it's £2 or £5, it doesn't matter how small the amount is. So thank you once again to my lovely Mariam for the amazing work she's done. Equally lovely Zamira, equally lovely Barbara who announced, and of course Steve in the background who's been hosting all these events, Hajra, Mariam, Hanan, Ala, everybody else from our team. Thank you so much and see you on Sunday. I hope you are all there on Sunday in our webinar live from Manchester at 1 o'clock. Remember that in England it's 1 o'clock. Check your timing and get in touch with us if you have any problem. Okay.
Excellent.
Good evening, everybody, and assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye. Thank you, Mariam, again.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Yes.